Former President Harry Truman once observed that it's amazing what you can accomplish when you don't care who gets the credit. And to a person, those who have worked with Dick Mayer over his more than 50-year involvement in the preservation and promotion of Johnstown's heritage would attest to the validity of his adherence to and implementation of that observation by the former president. For Dick Mayer, raising his family and working to improve his community was an easy choice, and one he stands by today.
When I came out of the Army and finished up my education, I knew I was coming back to Johnstown, and I knew Johnstown was going to be where I was going to spend the rest of my life. Now, that doesn't happen very often anymore to people. They work for big companies and they get transferred here and there. But I knew I was going to stay in Johnstown. So I raised my family here, and after raising the family, which was the most important thing in my life, I thought that serving the community was probably the second best thing I could do. So I got involved in a lot of stuff over many, many years. And I'm trying to cut down.
Whether it was bringing a first-class flood museum and hundreds of thousands of visitors to Johnstown, building trails and recreational sites, leading efforts to establish American industrial heritage projects, saving the South Fork Hunting and Fishing Club from demolition, or bringing a national folk fest to Cambria City in 1989 as part of the 100th anniversary of the 1889 flood, Dick Mayer was the driver, but continually placed himself in the passenger seat.
Dick Mayer was a real quiet, behind-the-scenes catalyst for a lot of exciting things that went on. Dick's really a kind of a humble guy. He never wanted to take credit for things. He always believed you could get a lot more done if you didn't have to have somebody standing up to take credit, if you just did it together and got it done. Back in 1889, we had the big flood, and for the centennial of that, a bunch of people came together several years before the centennial to develop a plan to do a couple of things. They wanted to not just commemorate the 1889 flood, but also set up a number of attractions and annual events that would help build Johnstown's economy by building the tourism base and the quality of life that we have, so we can help attract more people and new companies and so forth.
During the celebration in the year 1989, a group called Foresight 2000 was formed, and they wanted to see if they could make the community better by the year 2000. And so that was on top of the celebration and a forward movement to see what they could do to make the community a better place, 11 years from now, which was very exciting.
And then there was the Johnstown Chiefs. The Johnstown Chiefs Hockey Club that had been part of the Johnstown scene for many years and whose biggest fans included Dick and his wife Connie and Dick's mother and father ran into serious financial troubles in the 1990s. The team's woes persisted despite the film Slapshot starring Paul Newman and the Hanson brothers and an attempt by Dick and Connie Mayer to keep them in town. The film had created great visibility and controversy while on its way to becoming an icon among vast numbers of hockey fans throughout the United States and Canada who today still travel to Johnstown to see the place where the film was shot. But it provided no financial relief to the Chiefs.
I went to those games as a young guy in the community with my wife, and I sat in the arena across from my mother and dad, who were on the other side of the arena for many, many years, watching the Jets and Don Hall and Dick Roberge and all those guys that everybody remembers about. But when it looked as though the Chiefs were going to leave town, I was very active with WJAC, and I had suggested to the ownership of WJAC that they buy the Chiefs, which they did. And unfortunately, just 2 years after WJC bought the Chiefs, WJC was sold, and the owner didn't want the Chiefs. So what do you do with the Chiefs? I was the only one in a position to take ownership of the Chiefs with my wife, and so she and I had a conversation together and decided that we would own the Chiefs as long as we could.
All of us hope that somehow and in some way our heritage will be preserved beyond our lifetime. Leaving a legacy of some kind is important for future generations. Unless they understand our heritage, they cannot preserve it and will not emulate it. But the lasting legacies that Dick Mayer has bestowed on his beloved Johnstown are not transient. They are woven into the very fiber of this city.
There's a side of him in which he stops and thinks about what can be done, what should be done, what the possibilities are. And I think that's how he approached the centennial and the restoration of cottages up at the dam site, and his work with the Flood Museum and all of that.
Dick Mayer thinks that perhaps some things that were tried in the past might contribute to Johnstown rebirth and revitalization.
I think it is time for a group of people who are going to be here 14 years from now to get together and figure out what they can do now to make Johnstown a better place, or the community of Johnstown a better place by the year 2025. You know, I'm looking through 80-year-old eyes, but a 35-year-old that's going to be here the rest of his or her life ought to be meeting together to see what they can do to make the future better.